Welcome to the Deer Society podcast. Here's your host, Brian Lemke.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deer Society podcast. I'm Brian Lemke, joined by JJ and Mike Dukart, and special guest, you guys know, Ben Rising. Ben, welcome into the new Deer Society studio.
Yeah, it's nice, man. Like a totally new building. Everything's different. The Walk of Fame, walking in there and seeing all them bucks on the wall.
It's kind of like probably walking in your living room, huh?
I don't think I have anything quite that big. 215 is my biggest, but
I've been in there.
Some of those giants like Dan's buck, that thing is just stupid looking. Like you just sit there and you look at it and you go, how can it even do that?
Yeah.
But it's an amazing deer. Just like Mr. Maybe, all of them. You know, they're all great deer.
Yeah, see, our Almond Eye offices are on the other side here, and when we have somebody come to visit, I like walking them down your side first. Like, oh, this is the bucks here. And
yeah, their side was full of forkhorns.
You can say these are our bucks, and just kind of
That's right.
take ownership.
It's like a big collective around here. No, but exciting time of year. Ben, thanks for coming up, man. It's awesome to have you in the studio, and especially this time of year. You know, seasons are kicking off. We're past opening day here in Minnesota, kind of through that first week, but you know, lots of seasons still to come and season openers to come, depending on where you're at. So in this podcast, we're going to be talking about opening day strategy, early season strategy as a whole, and know that you're getting ready to get after it, man. This is your time.
Yeah, I mean, I've hunted 3 times in Kentucky, 3 sits after the same deer I missed last year, actually, and he just hasn't cooperated yet, so he doesn't want me to miss him again, I guess. But I'm not giving up. It comes in early there, but I didn't get to hunt the very first part. But I'll go back. I'll try to go back for a couple weekends here at some point, or a few weeknights at some point to try to get back on him. He's still there, so. But yeah, our season comes in Ohio, I think the 28th this year. And then, Missouri's in, which I could be hunting there right now, but I don't really have anything I'm on right there right now. So.
Well, we just broke down some hunts earlier this morning, so those will be releasing here, Deer Society. One of them was Tall Boy, and we shot that one on the 27th of September last year, so that's basically the season opens up.
Yeah, it was 3 days after the opener last year.
Maybe walk through. What are some early season opening day tips, tricks, tactics?
It's kind of the basics. You know, they're still thinking about food right now. You know, whether it's acorns or clover, good food plot. You know, water's important this time of year, especially in the areas that haven't had a lot of rain, which you guys know because Mike was out putting out water this morning.
Today, yep, that's right.
So, if you've got a deer using a spot that there's a water hole or, things like that, it's definitely a good time to be thinking about those things. Even scrapes right now, like on the edges of food plots, making mock scrapes, getting those deer using those scrapes is a tactic that I like to use this time of year even. Those bucks are hard horn now, and they're feeling their oats, and they kind of like showing everybody what they're about.
Yeah. On the scrape note, I was at a kind of a side property that I've had access to the last few years, and just a permission piece. I've been fortunate with some friends and to be able to hunt there, and was walking along the edge, and it was an alfalfa field, just looking for some sign there, and there was a scrape opened up, and it literally, I'm like, God, it looks like somebody came in here and made a mock scrape. Like it was bare dirt, but there's all kinds of deer tracks in it, and it was just like the most obvious thing walking along the edge there, and put a camera on. Sure enough, there were bucks on there. But it was crazy to just go in there and see. You don't think of, necessarily this being a great time of year to focus on scrapes. But man, it was like that was the most apparent thing in the whole entire woods.
It's a great time to shoot one off a scrape.
Yeah.
Like it really is, because like it's like new, all the deer like in that phase of like I gotta communicate, I gotta tell everybody who I am and what I'm doing, and and so like it's a good place to shoot a deer this time of year. It's not always about the breeding with bucks. It's, a lot of times it's just communication. It's head games. It's, like they want to tell you who they are, the other deer. They want to be dominant.
Yeah. So what I've noticed here probably the last 2 to 3 weeks right before the season started. I mean, it's such an advantage to be able to use these, reveals and gather that data. And then like Ben said, you go and you too, Brian, that I went and did water today. And so I wanted to be really quiet and get in and get out because we got a buck patterned, And so the last thing I wanted to do was blow them out, but that tank was getting so low, they were banging their head to get down in there, So we had to get the water in there so we didn't lose them. So I slid in there midday and just got my brand new Polaris Ranger EV. And I'll tell you what, that thing is ridiculously cool and quiet. So it's 15 miles to where we hunt from where our podcast studio is. I drove all the way there back, put in, all the water, hauling big, 100, how big is that bladder? 100 gallons or better?
Yeah, probably 100.
Hauling all that, filling the tanks, got back here and only used 50% of the battery. I was just blown away. Anyway, big shout out for Polaris, but good luck getting one. I had to wait 2 years and the allotments are way down. So too bad for you guys. But anyway, so I go out there and as I'm filling the water tank, exactly what you just said is what I noticed at Captain's. So I get out there and I fill the tank and I kind of just look as I turn around and this scrape is just tore up. I mean, fresh, like somebody took a stick and just gouged it through that fresh dirt. I mean, and we're seeing, which is really a great tactic. We're seeing all the sparring starting to happen. Now the velvet just came off, Jay, 2 weeks ago? And so the velvet come off and now their horns or their antlers are, drying up, they're getting firm. And so they're going in there and they're trying to figure out, hey, what do I got on my head, and they're tickling and this and that. And the bachelor groups are actually communicating right now too, like Ben's talking about. So they'll go in there and they'll lay that scent out and they're deciding, even the ones that hang out together are deciding what's my turf that can be tolerable, especially if they're like size and like age bucks. They're in that bachelor group and will they fight to the death? I don't know. They might, but I think they have almost a communication. They communicate with each other more readily and understand what's going on. I think it's a less aggressive than some nobody coming in from a different place. And that's like completely intolerable. Now, a lot of that has to do with the way you set up your property. You have to make sure the property's set up so that bucks can have their own space, so that they can be tolerant of each other in the space. And I'm going to kind of leave it there because we had a little talk about, reading land and stuff like that, because that's kind of where Ben's specialty is. And it just caught me off guard. It's like, that's a perspective I never even paid attention to. From my perspective is more about communicating. So I'm just all honed in on that. But this early season, tickling because the bucks are trying to feel each other's racks out. And we watched it on film. 2 or 3 small bucks were in there tickling and, 2 and 3 year olds. And boom, it brought in that bigger buck that we're after. He took over. He came in. Now he comes a little later, but he took over and he said, hey, this is my spot. Like the day after all that activity in there with those bucks. And then them little bucks kind of moved over to the next place, I believe, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah, they're bouncing around and there's new bucks showing up. 3-year, like the scrape you were talking about, that was a new 3-year-old that showed up last night and hit the water, hit the scrape.
So that was a fresh scrape from last night. Yeah, okay.
So new bucks, new areas. What about, we talked about food plots, water holes, apple trees, all kinds of good stuff. But I know this year acorns, at least around here, is like a bumper crop, like everywhere. Wisconsin's loaded. Minnesota's, we've talked about it a bunch, like acorns everywhere. What are you seeing?
I haven't seen many in Ohio, like not much white oak where I'm at. I've seen some red oak. But even in Kentucky, I noticed outside the hotel I was staying at, there was a white oak tree that was loaded. But the piece I'm actually hunting, the oaks that I can see without going into the timber deep, didn't have any acorns on the ones I saw. But I got a feeling that there have to be some somewhere, because the buck that I'm after, he's just dragging his feet to get to the open, to the field. So that tells me they're feeding in the woods,
Is there anything drought? Because we were in a big drought, like extreme drought.
Extreme drought. Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with acorn production dropping? Any type of?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it can. I think though that like Mother Nature, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I don't. Not all oak trees hit every year. Like sometimes they're hit or miss. Like one year they hit, next year they don't, then they hit again. So I still think it's kind of more deterrent on that, how much they produce and how much, and how early, I think can depend on the water, like how much, I guess saturation they got to decide, if they're going to be huge acorns or small acorns or, just like leaves turn quicker when it's dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like the corn's already drying down out here.
Yeah.
So everything will turn a little quicker. Everything matures faster when it's dry.
And we actually had a bean field picked last, 4 or 5 days ago?
Yep.
And that's like way early here. And it's because of the dry. They just went, it's a drought. And by the way, those of you who don't know or are listening for maybe the first time or about Ben, but he is a timber specialist. That's what his life is. And, with a background in like trapping at a very young age. And so reading the timber, the woods, this guy's a professional at that, not just at hunting.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, he's definitely got the repertoire to show for it from the hunting standpoint as well. Ben, a question for you. So, you said you're hunting this deer in Kentucky. I'm curious, last year, was that deer doing kind of similar things, this time of year early in the season? Is that when you were hunting them last year? Is there any similarities, to compare or historical data that you can use this year?
Yeah, it's basically a little 5-acre fingered field on the top of a ridge, all thick timber on the sides. It's only a 90-acre piece. The field was not made into hay at all this year. It just growed up thick and nasty, a bunch of stick tights and just junky grass. It was one of the places I did not get to do any kind of like prep work early. I didn't get down there and do food plots or anything. I did go down in August and I mowed out a bunch of spots. I mowed out 2 major spots, mowed some trails around the field, things like that, trying to give some openings and get some green grass growing just to give these deer a place to like step into and whatnot. And it didn't take 3-4 days, and these deer started making their rounds, from woods to woods, one side to the other. What I'm lacking there and what I need to do, definitely need a better green food source in a couple spots there possibly, and I need a water hole. So that's on my list. I was really concentrating on my stuff in Illinois this year. That's what I needed to do. So now I'm gonna, Kentucky will be a focus next year to get some of that done on that piece, after season's out this year. Last year I only hunted it early. I never hunted it late. So this year, maybe if I don't get him here in the next couple weeks, there's a good chance I may try to hunt that deer late season.
So is that a high spot where that grass and
Yes.
stuff is? So that's a high spot, and you got timber bordering.
I got top access.
Yeah, okay.
Keep my wind consistent.
Yep.
And I don't want to go into the timber because I'm trying not to blow all the deer out of there. He's there. There's another real nice buck there that's a 4-year-old 10 that's probably, 150. So I don't want to push him off to the neighbors because they're all feeding deer and trying to hunt too. So I'm trying to keep my 90 as less intrusive as I can. And, it's just, I'm not that crazy about I want to kill him early just so I could get one under my belt. But like me and JJ were talking earlier, like for our viewers and the footage and like everything is just better, it seems like later, like for what we do, like the rut hunts, the calling deer, the things like that. Just people, I think, enjoy that better than they do watching a deer just kind of nonchalantly feed by and getting shot.
Yeah.
And I think those hunts are more fun too. Like when you're calling to a deer or you're setting up strategically in the rut, or hunting scrapes and, deer are just more, I don't know, they're just acting like more deer, more aggressive, more like that classic, what people want to see. And, but again, you want to fill your tags and you want to be successful and show people how to hunt all the times or all the seasons of the year. So there's a place for the early season, place for the pre-rut, place for the rut, and then late season, obviously transition to food again. So just one of them things.
Yeah, I think it relates a lot too. Like us as hunters, it's just that feeling that all of us feel. That you get those cool mornings, you get that fall feel. The leaves are turning, and it's just like that time of year. That for us, late October here, early November, that feels like hunting weather. When season opens up here and it's 85 degrees and you're sweating your butt off, and sure, it couldn't be great hunting, but it doesn't really feel like that. And I don't think it plays on video like that as well either. I think a lot of times this time of year, this early season, like you can really have some good hunts, but you can really do some damage if you don't have the deer there.
Correct.
Either. So maybe Mike, you can touch on that. Like early season can be feast or famine sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what you guys are alluding to in a just your own descriptive way. At the beginning of the season, unless you have a buck pattern, one of your bucks that and that you having patterned well, and you got a good kill window for whatever reason, in this case, it's probably a water issue for us from our drought, and we got a buck pattern. We'll see if it pans out. You got to go for it. I mean, and it's exciting to go for it because it's the beginning of the season, and you're nervous because you're shooting your bow for the first time, and maybe it's a brand new bow, or he's going to change his behavior. The acorns drop. Well, is he going to go to the beans, or is he in the beans going to the acorns? So there's a lot of thought process, but the interaction isn't there, like Ben's talking about. So it's a different type of hunt. But boy, you know what? I mean, I'm at the age now where if I can take a buck in the first sit, I'm a happy guy, because then I just go out and do what I want when I want, because we do more than just hunt. We film, we take care of the land, we help each other, we talk strategy amongst us. I mean, we're continually looking at the cameras and talking to each other at night, and it's just the whole thing. It's just different, but beginning of the season, you really, really do not want to blow up your spot, because that's a horrible situation for you down the road.
Yeah, and then you see the neighbor post on Instagram picture of your deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of variables out there that can happen. Some you can control, some you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, trust me, I wouldn't mind killing that Kentucky deer early, because get one under my belt. I got a lot of tags in my pocket this year. I didn't have a great year last year. Only killed 2 bucks. So it's like, for me having a show, I need to shoot 3-4 bucks on film at least, and it's hard to do that a lot of times. So it's kind of nice. It'd be nice to get one out of the way,
Yeah, and I want you to jump back a little bit. So you were talking about mowing the field that wasn't in production this year. So wasn't that, what did you say it was, alfalfa? Or
It's just, no, it was just junk.
Just grass.
Junk hill ground hay.
So you mowed it. Normally when we mow, it's like an access trail, just trying to cut down, rub it on grass and getting it clean. But you're actually mowing that for a food source.
Well,
and you showed me that video this morning of a deer eating fresh greens.
Yeah, well, that was in Illinois. That's just a Plath I mowed her on CRP, but it's the same scenario. Just any kind of fresh growth, and if they're already bedding in that tall grass on the edges of the timber. So all I did was go into areas that were easy accessible to me to have stand sites, and whether, because you can bait in Kentucky, so whether you're scattering corn or you're just simply hunting that green new grass, the growth that's coming up, because they're coming to it, because there's not a lot of food sources there. It's a lot of hill country, a lot of timber. So any kind of meadows, like that's what we call, in the hill country, it's meadows. If it's not hay, it's a meadow or a pasture or something like that. So them deer just feed on that. That's like them coming to a bean field in Minnesota or a cornfield, in Illinois. They just don't have a lot of that there. So at least this area doesn't. So, anything like that will draw deer in a spot like that. So I was mowing out like, a half-acre opening with a strategic sand setup that I could, hunt that effectively for certain winds. And, the buck is there, that's for sure. I mean, he's definitely there. He's just cat and mouse game. He likes a certain spot better than others, more in daylight, but it's hard to get to that spot to hunt it with the wind. So and I'm trying not to blow the farm up and push him out. So I'm kind of like teetering. and I need to learn the farm just a little bit better, put my woodsmanship, skills to use, and learn a little better this coming shed season or winter, like where they're bedding for sure, how they're using that terrain 100%. Like I just didn't put the work in like I should have. I still think I'll get him, but I could have made it a lot easier if I'd have put the work in on this piece. And this piece I got lazy on it, was too busy everywhere else.
Yeah, it's a time thing. You get busy, and it sounds like you're doing something similar to what we do on our own land that we have complete control over, and have access to it every day of the week. So you're just going in and you're setting these elements up, the elements of, mowing that out, which now is going to create a communication hub because there's probably going to be a scrape there. And then you said you want to put a water source in there. So then you got water. Who knows? Maybe there's a fruit tree close by or acorns. But now you created a hub, where before it was just wild.
Yeah, the whole field
meadow.
was like a desert.
Yeah, it was
All
nothing,
same grass.
And so it was kind of random. It's like putting in our switchgrass. We got a switchgrass area that's, how many acres is that? That's
Like 15, we'll call it.
15 acres, and that's all it is. I mean, there's nothing, we haven't strategized on what to do. We're still trying to get the switchgrass mature. It's only the second year, and it's really coming along great. So these are good ideas and strategies, to think about, when it comes to that too.
Let's talk about right now. I want to pick your brain, Ben. So I think it's easy to say, okay, if you have a target deer early, you're going to go after him, right? But let's say, you're sitting back there and you don't have a target deer that you have showing up early that you're going to go after. What is your mindset then? Are you being patient? Are you moving cameras around? Are you like just letting them bake and sitting back and waiting for a deer to show up? Like, what's that mindset for somebody out there that maybe doesn't have a target buck right now early? Like, are you waiting, or are you trying to do things from a scouting standpoint to find a buck?
Well, obviously I think you could scout, or try to find new locations or, different places to hunt. But typically you can know what's in your area by now, like what deer are on that farm. And if you don't have a target buck by now located on that piece and you feel like you've done enough recon work, then I would be patient. You might have to wait a little bit longer, maybe start thinking about, where all the does are going to be in a few weeks, and start concentrating, maybe getting set up for that, because that could be your only chance to maybe catch a satellite buck looking for does. Or unfortunately, I tend to know a lot of the deer that I hunt, or where they're at, or kind of what they're doing. And so, that's one place where cameras have kind of like changed it for me in a sense, and almost takes the fun out of it to a degree, because you don't hunt as much. But in a sense, you really shouldn't overhunt. Like, hunt smarter, not harder, I always say. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, like, it takes the fun out of the element of bow hunting and just being able to go and enjoy a sit, being in the woods. And so, I've kind of gotten to the point where, like, sometimes I'll push the envelope, or I'll hunt a part of a farm that I typically don't hunt, or I want to learn more. Like, I just want to be out there, so I start to hunt, and if I know there's a bigger deer or a deer in a certain area, but he's not doing what I need him to do, I kind of stay away from him, but I'll go hunt other places or whatever, shoot a doe, do things like that. And then sometimes you just learn something that you didn't know, and you see a deer you never saw. So like I do, if you only got one place to hunt, which a lot of people only have access to one spot or things like that. So I would caution you to not burn it out. But if you have multiple spots that you can have access to, or you know enough farmers or people that own land that allow you to hunt, I would still try to hunt a little bit, have fun, dive deep in some spots, hunt some acorn flats, get risky a little bit sometimes, and sometimes it pays off. Some guys, that's what they do. They just dive deep anyways. Like, that's their style of hunting. They hunt bedding areas all the time. They hunt, that's just how they hunt. Everybody hunts different, I'm kind of an edge guy. I kind of just depends on the time of year and sometimes I need to get aggressive and sometimes I don't. But when I need to, I will. Just like when I killed Scissors, I got aggressive, got in there, got in that deer's core and killed him. It just depends on the situation. Yeah,
and it also depends, go ahead, JJ, if you want to add to that, the type of property you have, whether you're an inside out or outside in property. And it, like you said, if it's property that you own, you don't want to burn it. We hunt fringes too. We're very, very careful about that. But I'm sure, Jay, you got some ideas on that too.
No, I was just going to pick Ben's brain a little bit and say, like, if there was a pie chart of Ben's career early season deer hunts, what would the tactics look like on that chart, and how many bucks were like, early season water, early season acorn flat, early season green food? Like the bucks you've killed, what's the biggest pie on the chart?
Oh, that pre-rut, my biggest October. I've killed 3 booners on October 23rd.
But like early season.
Early
season only. pie
Early
chart.
season only would be just literally a food source, like them coming to food,
So a pattern food source.
Yeah, pattern food source, whether it's acorns, whether it's a food plot, scattered corn, anything like that. It's them filling their bellies, without a doubt.
All evening.
Yeah, for kills. I mean, I have hunted morning, some early, just depends on what my access is like. Like a really good tactic, if you've got the right situation, is to crawl into a acorn thicket, like an acorn flat or something. If you got a good access, the back door, a hillside, to get up into that acorn flat and be waiting for a deer to come back from, because a lot of times what they'll do, they'll come back from the fields in the morning or where they were feeding on grass or green, and they'll stage in those acorns just for a little bit before they go back to bed. And you can pick one off a lot of times. That's what I feel like I need to do in Kentucky to kill this deer, but I don't have the back door in yet. I don't have a way to get to him without blowing the whole farm out. I need access from a neighbor.
So I want to throw that same question to you, JJ. Talk to your pie chart, because I know you've killed first sit bucks numerous times.
Pie chart's a lot smaller than Ben's, but yeah, the food for sure in the evening. Green food sources, water. We're not big into we just don't do a lot of big acorn flat hunting.
No, we
stuff.
don't. Never
I was
have.
trying to pick your brain, is that a big part of what you do? Early season, even October pre-rut, I don't know. Because that's not a lot of what we do.
No, and
Have that set up a lot.
I think a lot of what we do, and if I think about this now, we're always hunting the fringe, because we're always hunting more of either the fringe of an inside property out where the deer are, which is what we have now, or all of our other properties were outside, and they were maybe I got this backwards, but they were bedding somewhere else and going into more open out areas. You know what I mean? Am I saying this correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. So we always hunted that. So in my mind, it was always about behavioral. Of course, that's where my brain's wired, That's how I designed the deer call, and that's how I studied deer. I'd listen to them right next to me and, all that kind of stuff. But basically, they're going to come in and they're going to explore these areas that you're talking about, that you're creating, and they're going to do that scrape. So I would have to almost say I'm kind of hunting scrapes a lot when it comes to, and then, behavioral feeding patterns early season. I mean, that's when, and it doesn't have to be a 8-year-old deer. I mean, not everybody's out there shooting, old deer. 3.5-year-olds are coming right now. They're active as heck. 4.5-year-olds are active as crazy, That's kind of my thought on it, that I think the scrapes and the behavioral part of it is really what I'm focusing on. That's just me, though.
Yeah. And I prefer to be more on the edge. I'm just saying the acorns are a tactic, but whether I'm hunting the acorns or not, a lot of times I don't, because you're just blowing the deer out, going in there to get on them. But there's a lot of times there's white oaks or something on the edge of a field that are dropping, and that's a drawing card close to that green source or that water source. They're going to hit those easy to pick acorns on the edge of a field. That's why you see in the dirt roads where I live in Ohio in the hills, you can be buzzing down a dirt road at night, and it's almost more dangerous driving down that road than it is a main road, because the deer are in the middle of the road eating the acorns
Crazy.
that are falling because they're so easy to get. They're just like vacuum cleaners picking them up off the dirt roads.
Interesting.
And the little deer just they don't know what to do when a car comes around a corner,
Yeah.
As far as the weather part goes on it, it's kind of weird, because you got to find the lightest clothes you have. You shoot everything to try and not break a sweat, and it's almost impossible, especially when it's 80 out. And, you get a lot of blowing dough. So I think my commitment this year is leave the area alone, see if one of the boys can get that target buck. And once that happens, if a doe blows, she goes.
There you go.
I can't stand that, getting in and out of timber or wherever you go. And you always got that one or two that's their thing. And it's just,
I think
brutal.
some deer, like, honestly, like, I used to get so freaked out about that, and I'd be like, freaking whole hunt's blue for the night. But sometimes I think some of them bucks are like, they sit there and they go, that dumb freaking doe. That's all she does.
Or maybe she's blowing at him because you don't.
She's just like, there's old nag hag over there.
Karen.
There's Karen again. Carrying on. And like, because like literally, like it's funny because sometimes that'll happen and you think it's all done and over with. And 5 minutes later, there's a mature buck walking out. And you're like, what are you doing?
Well, that was your Evander breakdown. And then Scissors, wasn't there some blowing and stuff?
Yeah.
That was chasing bucks, blowing down.
Yeah, I think it's just what they think they're associating with. Like, now it could be totally different if 3 deer are blowing and they're crashing through the timber.
Yeah.
That's different. But if you got a doe that's behind you just getting your wind once in a while and blowing and trying to carry on, sometimes I don't think the other deer even know what, like, is it she blowing at a coyote or what?
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. It's just in my situation because I got
agree.
nothing else to shoot. She's the one that's going
I
to
killed
get
one in
it.
Kentucky already.
Lay him out.
But you're right about that. How many times have you been blown at and didn't affect nothing?
Yeah.
Unless you just blow.
Or like years ago, I used to I'd get out of the stand and go home. Think it was over. Like, oh, she just told everybody I'm here, I'm out.
You know what else used to bother me?
You, and then they're like, yeah, she was right.
You know what else used to bother me? Was them squirrels. Those little pine squirrels over there. That used to bug the heck out of me. And now it's like, I realize that a lot of times that's when the buck is coming. For some reason, them squirrels, they don't seem to mind the does as much, but when there's a buck coming in later on, when the squirrels are later in the day, it's pretty consistent.
My dad always, when I was younger, he always told me to listen for the blue jays.
Oh.
And so, like, you'd be sitting there in a deer stand or whatever, like, we'd split up or whatever, and he'd set me by a tree and he'd go somewhere and he'd, like, if the blue jays start carrying on, start paying attention because something's coming. He goes, may not always be a deer, but something is coming.
And that's the way I feel about them red squirrels.
Yeah, and so
Same thing.
The blue jays are like, and sure enough, it could be a dog, could be a cat, fox, coyote, or it could be a little group of deer moving through a little quicker and it gets them birds stirred up. And and that's why, like, if you watch deer in the woods, like, you'll watch their ears, and like, if a squirrel starts barking over here, they're paying attention to that.
Yep.
Because they're so in tune with their people, and that's who their people are. So, like, if, crows start flying off, like, they're paying attention. Same with turkeys. Turkeys start putting, it's one thing for a turkey to be just doing its normal, and the keys and the carrying on. But if they start put, them bucks know that's their warning call. Like, there's something bothering them, and everything pays attention. So it's just, it's part of that woodsmanship we talk. It's like, be a student of your environment.
It seems like the deer use the turkeys in the fall, and the turkeys use the deer in the spring. It seems like I get burnt that way all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting. My dad, he told me the same thing about the blue jays too. But it's one of the coolest things is, like, if you're sitting over a food plot or you have some deer around you, just watching those deer, because they will tell you, you feel like, okay, you got some does out in front of you. You're like, okay, when's the buck going to show up? And you want to look all around and whatever. But, like, if you watch those deer out in front of you, like, they will tell you exactly when a deer's coming and where they're coming from, because they know.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and it's hard to just sit still, but it's the truth. Like, if you have does in front of you, like on a food plot or something, really you don't need to look much other place, because, like, they're going to see it or hear it way before you will. Unless it's like a deer down over the bank or something, then it's different. But you can get nailed so easy by just doing this all the time, trying to, like, just see what's going on. It's hard to learn to do that, but it does make a difference.
Especially when you got bad hearing as you get older. Like, I can't hear nothing. I use a sport ear now, because otherwise I can't hear it. But then the problem with that is you get her cranked up, and now you're hearing again.
Everything.
And then there's a blue jay right next to you. and it just about blows your head off. So there's pluses and minuses to that, but a good way to, and I'm going to tell you this by stupid experience, making mistakes, the best way to get good at not moving in a stand is overcut your shooting lanes and have does come in right next to you where you almost have to close your eyes and stop breathing. Otherwise, they're going to see you.
I thought you were going to say the best way to not move is just fall asleep and take a nap.
Well, that works good too.
I'm bad at overcutting because of self-filming all the time. And like, you need to have the footage,
No.
you know, so it's hard to like, you got to have some shoot lanes, but you got to have some camera lanes. Like, you got to be able to get it on tape,
Yeah.
you know, and makes it tough because like, I don't like to trim a lot, but sometimes you have to trim more than you want to.
JJ, don't let me
No.
trim stands anymore at all.
Well, I've sat in a few of JJ stands. I was filming back when we had Saban up here and was filming Saban. And I remember I climbed in that one stand and I'm like, JJ, did you trim anything out of this tree? I'm like,
There's a hole right there, about the size of a plate.
he's like, you could shoot here and here and here. I'm like, where?
Oh, and then Chris last night, you know,
Yeah,
comes in.
exactly.
There's probably a shot there. I haven't been there in 2 years, so I don't know what the lanes look like.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe they've grown over. Yeah, sure enough, there was some limbs in the way.
Otherwise, he would have had
But I
it
told
done
him to
last
take a
night.
saw, so
He needs to get out there and have all that stuff happen, though. He just needs all
That's how you
that.
learn.
Yeah, that's where he's at right now.
JJ, question for you. How much do you pay attention to? So, you know, you got a deer, say he's 3 years old last year, and now you're hunting him as a 4-year-old, or a 4-year-old and you're hunting him as a 5-year-old. How much year after year history do you pay attention to early season? Like, do you believe, and then Ben, I'm going to ask you the same question, but like, do you see deer historically doing the same thing year after year in this early season?
usually I'm not killing the bucks in the early season, so I'm not really honing in on that too much. I mean, when I think early season, I'm thinking like September. Like, I'm not shooting a lot of deer in September. It's usually that October, which I guess would you consider that early season still?
Yeah.
In some states, I guess that's okay.
Well, I would say the first week in October would be early season here for sure, because you haven't had that first frost quite yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I feel like definitely some information can be taken from previous years, but there's always like that one variable that switches things up. You know, in this field was corn, now it's beans.
Yeah.
Or, you know, this apple tree is dropping now, it wasn't dropping last time.
Yeah.
There's always something that makes it a little bit different, but in general, they're around the same areas at the same time doing the same thing.
I was going to say they tend to go to those areas consistently, you know, and it tends to be age structure related to, you know, your does and your fawns are going to be consistent, then your little bucks are going to come. And then I just noticed that in my backyard. I mean, I got a food plot back there and I get to kind of study deer, and, you know, the little bucks are always the first ones, and they're always the first ones, you know, tap. And then all of a sudden scrapes start to appear, and pretty soon, boom, where'd that guy come from? I haven't seen him, you know.
I noticed, like where I live in Ohio, in our hill country, I don't get all freaked out about deer being in the wooded properties that I hunt, like not being there because like through the summer, velvet time, I never have bucks, good bucks. I never have them. They do not come to those properties till the crops start coming off down in the bottoms. Could be a mile away, 2 miles away. And once them crops start coming off, or the acorns start dropping and the weather mornings start getting a little bit cooler like it is right now, it just seems like the later in September into October, the bucks just start coming back. And like, it's same with my farm in Illinois, the one that I hunt the most. In the summertime, I have bucks there, but my biggest bucks do not show up there until October for some reason, late September to October. Don't know why, it's just the way it is. But when they come back, they stay.
So I would say, you know, to answer a question to the listeners out there, what should I do early season if I want to shoot a buck? This is my mindset on it. First of all, do you have a target buck, and are you committed to that buck? Or is this archery season open up and I want to go shoot a buck? Is that a 2.5-year-old, a 3.5-year-old, a 4.5-year-old? If you don't have that specific deer that you want and you don't really care, you just want to shoot your buck and fill your tag, which is a very high percentage of people out there, by the way. Not everybody has the opportunity to do what we do. I would say right now, look at the behavior, find the scrapes as we've been talking about. If you're going to communicate with them, I would just tickle rattle. I wouldn't be doing much calling at all. Although they do, when we did that velvet hunt, we realized that they talk a lot this time of year between the does and the fawns. So, I mean, if you wanted to create some of that, well, I thought, we went on a velvet hunt, which is what, Labor Day? And I thought, well, why we don't need a call. They're going to come to this spot or bait or whatever, or food. And it was the opposite. They were just jabbering like I'd never heard. So if I was going to call, maybe just, the curiosity that a 2.5 or 3.5-year-old buck or a 4.5-year-old buck might want to see, I'm gonna entice a 4 to 5-year-old buck by tickling, because he's going to wonder who's over there, what's my competition. Okay. If I just want a deer to come into the plot and feel comfortable to a behavioral pattern, to check a scrape or see if there's food there or see what's going on, I wouldn't be afraid to do a little bit of doe fawn chatter, but very little of that is more about patterning. So if that's the tactic that you are looking to do, look for that pattern, look for that food, communicate, tickle. That's what I'd be looking for. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah, I like that. Let's kind of go down the line and let's end it there. Ben, one piece of advice for somebody that's going out opening day, early season, what are you telling them?
One piece of advice: don't stink.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's a great one, yeah. Just as important as any time of year, but just more difficult even with the hop temperatures and breaking a sweat. I mean, a phase system is crucial. That field foam, we always talk about as last line of defense, man. That's like your best friend, especially early season. If you break a sweat, man, field foam can save you.
I'm going to add to that. I mean, everybody, the field foam is designed for that specifically, but to me, the most reliable part of that system is the lotion.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you hit them hot spots where you're going to sweat, and you just lotion up, just gob it on, and because now it's a line of defense as you manufacture, and then the foamer, can help, because I don't know. I mean, JJ, didn't you sweat that one day when you shot that deer beginning of the first?
that I've ever hunted, yeah.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah, I mean, early season is just really difficult to keep your scent down with the high humidity and it's hot.
I literally walk in my underwear sometimes.
Yeah.
Literally.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Yeah. Whitey tighties. We saw them on film, on camera.
I actually saved a picture. People don't believe me.
Well, ladies, make sure you watch Ben's next hunt breakdown. It's gonna be spicy.
They doesn't usually make the episode.
Jay, to prove this is true, tell him what color and what style of underwear he's got on.
Blue stripe. One more. I want to hit one more topic before.
Oh, there he is.
That's actually Kentucky.
That's a gem. That's good stuff.
That's the thumbnail of this podcast too. You tried to hit on it earlier a little bit, but early season, is there anything, I'm going to pick Ben's brain here, from high pressure, cold fronts, like is there any trigger you're going to wait on to dive in? Early, like we're talking.
Well, like right now I'm waiting on this Kentucky buck, like we just went through a dark of the moon phase, and those deer don't move the best in daylight at all in the dark of the moon. But now we're coming out of that, and he's already moved. He's moved twice in the daylight since. But one, I'm here. Like he moved last night.
Are you a red moon guy?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt it works. I mean, I've killed a lot of deer on.
Because this week's red moon.
Yeah, I've killed I know that, and
you're here.
I'm here. But yeah, it definitely works, and I use all the tools available. So from, Adam's app with the moon guide, from the deer cast, because deer cast is huge on like barometric pressure.
Yeah, that's a good one for that.
And, so like I've just become really tuned in with that. And there is a definite correlation with barometric pressure and how deer move.
You add all of that together with that moon, the barometer, and those, like JJ talked, the fronts.
Yeah. A little bit of rain, and then it stops. It's going to rain that day, and then it quits.
Well, we got a whole video on that one.
Yeah.
We sat in that pouring rain, and guess what? That little red squirrel went, I'm like, get ready. And here it was. It was him.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Just little things like that. But like if you pound it every day, you're burning it out. If you're not killing, if he's not showing you that he's there, you need to back off. Like let him tell you when to hunt.
So, okay, yeah. But you do, like, if you use DeerCast, so if that app says, like, great in your buck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't 100%.
Yeah, it's not.
by that.
It's not 100%, but
You know, and that's what people have to understand too. All these apps and that, like, you can't just go by that 100% to go hunt your deer. You have to know what your deer's doing. Just because DeerCast says it's good or the Moon Guide says it's red moon does not mean you're going to kill your deer if you just go out and sit by this tree.
nope.
You
Not at
have
all.
to have your homework done. It's, you know, it helps you decide certain things.
But if you got A and B and C and D of the things that you're watching all in the same day, you better be in that stand.
Yeah.
And you better understand the behavior of the deer in those conditions too, with those wind directions and stuff.
One thing that I love the most about DeerCast is the wind thing. Like it literally, because I can type where I can hit where I'm going to be and hit wind, and it'll show how the wind is going to go, and it'll go from the whole time frame. You know, it'll show me how that wind's going to blow. Now, granted, you have to know in your head how the structure affects that wind, but it gives you that basic direction. And I'm already trying to figure that out for the next day from the night before. Like it helps you plan those kind of things.
Well, then you got Onyx. I don't know what all they got on theirs, but they just keep adding more and more stuff too. I mean, you know, I don't know if wind direction's in that yet, or if you could do an overlay or how that works.
There's
Can
all
you store?
kinds of-
Can you store historical? You know, based off of what you're seeing on your trail cams too. I mean, that information and that data it's just huge.
Yeah, there's so many apps out there, you know, and then they all have good features and different things. You look at the Reveal app, like Reveal has this statistics feature now where you can tag, you know, certain bucks or bucks versus does or whatever, and then run a statistical analysis, and it'll tell you, look, your buck has been here on this property with, you know, 5 times with this wind, and here was
That's
the
that new
pressure.
software, right?
Yeah, it's that statistical analysis. So great feature, and it kind of allows you to do what we're talking about. And a lot of these apps, you know, will help you with that. But I do think that's such a huge factor is you can get all that data, and whether you're doing it with a pen and pencil or you're looking at one of these apps for it, like understand, because I think too, and Ben, I think you probably agree with this, but tell me if you disagree. Like all deer are different too. Like, you know, understand what your deer are doing, understand how they're using that property, use all of those keys to your advantage, and then just try to apply them and you know, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, their personalities. I mean, that's a big deal too.
Yeah. I mean, my buck last year, like I shot a bunch of bucks in a row on these cold fronts, and then all of a sudden last year, I think I was texting you on the way up to Wisconsin. I brought my hunting gear. I'm like, should I even try to hunt this buck? It was like the worst possible rating on every app out there. It was like extremely poor, you know, just terrible. Bad wind, low pressure, hot, you know, just everything you don't want. And then I went out and sat there and shot it. It's like,
Yeah, they're all different.
maybe I got lucky. Maybe I was like the only person in Wisconsin that shot a buck that night. I don't know.
But deer are like people. I mean, you know, they're all have different personalities, and you know, they like different things. You know, it's, you know, and them bucks know, and they know their does too. Like what does come into heat first. What, you know, there's a cycle in the whole. You know, it's just like when you were dating when you were younger. You know, you like big girls, so you used to go to the buffets a lot looking
You got
for
to know.
All you can eat, baby.
Yeah, Brian. Brian.
I'm
skinny girls. He'd go to Panera Bread where they serve hot salads.
I'm staying away from that conversation completely. I don't know if my wife's listening or not, so I gotta steer clear of that one. JJ, one piece of advice, early season, go.
Stay away from buffets.
I would say aim small, be patient with your shot. Don't rush it.
Like it.
That's a good one.
That's how the movie The Patriot.
Yeah.
Aim small, miss small.
Yeah.
Accuracy is everything. Is that what it is?
Especially early
Don't
season,
trim.
You know? Yeah, don't trim.
Don't trim a thing. That's why you gotta aim small.
Through a bowling ball finger hole.
No choice.
Right.
Play for the deflection, JJ says. No, I guess that just to wrap it up, if I have one piece of advice, if be patient. Don't try to rush out there and burn out your spot before the time is right. Pay attention to your deer, like Ben said. Let them tell you when it's time to hunt them. So early season can be a really great time. Chris is going out today. He had a great encounter last night. He'll be out there again today. Hopefully, we have some stories to share with Chris having some success here, but we'll keep you posted. We'll circle back. If you're going out this week, you have opening day or just headed out for early season, good luck. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download the free Deer Society app. Lots of great content in there. Hunt breakdowns are rolling out. Just shot some with Ben that are going to be rolling out here soon. Some great stuff from last year, stuff to get excited for. So again, thanks for tuning in and good luck out there.
All our sponsors here at Deer Society are partners whose equipment we know we can trust are going to make you more successful and have a better experience in the field. Products like Illusion Systems, maker of the Black Rack, the Extinguisher, and the Phase Body Odor System. Tacticam, Reveal Cell Cameras, 10-Point Crossbows, Onyx Maps, Osseo Gear, Hooyman, and Big Frig.